that's considered to be one of the most reliable engines ever made. It churned out a measly 80 horsepower, which meant 0 to 60 in 21 seconds. Woo! But it also meant that the engine is less stressed than a Buddhist monk, resulting in many testimonials from people who reached over 1 million kilometers. In Europe, the 300Ds were used as taxi cars, police cars, ambulances, everything. It's the German workhorse of a car whose utility was praised all over the world. Even today, you'll find these bulletproof Mercs chugging along in some of the harshest parts of the world, a fact that's surprising to no one. All you have to do is occasionally replace the brakes, change the oil, and make sure it's got some diesel in the tank. Hell, not even that, since you can run it on used cooking oil too. That's how resilient the 300D is.
Number 4.
I'm not a really big fan of the restyled 7 Series. That vulgarly oversized grille sure attracts a lot of attention, but the reaction to it is usually negative, like seeing a girl with gigantic lips. Ugh. Looks aside, the 7 is everything you'd expect from a German luxury limo. Big, technologically advanced. Plus, it comes with an amazing engine. I'm not talking about the V12, but a 3-liter diesel with quad turbos. Yeah, you heard that right. Quad. The only other manufacturer who ever thought that quads would be a sensible thing to do is Bugatti. Anyway, it produces 400 horsepower or 133 horsepower per liter, which makes this the most power-dense diesel engine ever.
Nice!
That, together with 561 pounds of torque and an all-wheel drive system, makes the 750D sprint to 60 in 4.6 seconds, which is about the same as an Alfa Romeo 4C, except BMW weighs more than twice as much. And it just never stops pulling, ever, even in the 8th gear, where most other cars settle down. Without the speed limiter, this ugly brute would theoretically hit 300 kilometers an hour. Put the engine in a smaller 5 Series and it's suddenly good enough to wear an M badge. Not just some cosmetic M badge, but the real M. Basically, the 750D is BMW flipping the bird at everyone who says that luxurious diesel can't go fast.
Did you just flip me off? Number 3.
400 horsepower sure is nice, but 500 is even nicer. That's what you get in Audi's ginormous Q7. And it's all thanks to this, a 6-liter twin-turbo V12, also known as the most powerful diesel engine ever. Well, you know what they say, there's no replacement for displacement. But where this engine came from couldn't be any further from a 7-seater SUV, Le Mans. After switching to diesel, Audi dominated the endurance racing simply because they didn't have to stop for fuel every so often. Literally, they changed the sport. Drunk with success, Germans wanted to put a modified racing diesel engine in the R8, but a twin-turbo V12 was simply too large for it and required a lot of re-engineering, which would make it unprofitable. But it did fit very nicely in the Q7, and that's the story of how Audi made their least sensible car ever. How often do you see an SUV with a factory-installed wide-body kit and ceramic brakes? Well, the racing brakes are more of a necessity since it weighs almost 6,000 pounds. However, it's the pounds-feet of torque that you'll notice the most. 738 of them feels less like driving and more like riding a tsunami wave. It's enough to jumpstart a Boeing 787 or scare your kids shitless on their way to school. What a brute.
Number 2.
So diesel cars are more fuel efficient, but how efficient can they really be? Enter the Audi A2 where the 3L stands for 3 liters per 100 kilometers, or at 95 mpg.
Wow.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is the most fuel-efficient mass-produced car ever. To achieve such numbers, Audi had to pull all the tricks. The avant-garde-looking body may be off-putting to many, but when it was new, it made for the most aerodynamic car ever. The tires are super narrow to provide as little drag as possible, and in the center of them are closed-dish wheels that reduce the turbulence. An entire car weighs under a ton. Body panels are aluminum, and so is most of the chassis too. There are no optional extras to speak of. It only has one windshield wiper, and even the windows are made thinner to save a few grams. Remember when Clarkson raved about McLaren using this trick on their P1 hypercar?
The glass is just 3.5 millimeters thick, 1.5 millimeters thinner than the glass in normal cars.
There's more. The 1.2-liter engine block was made from a lighter alloy. Transmission was specifically designed for efficiency, and then there was the whole eco mode with its own trickery. Sadly, the A2 didn't sell well. It was cheap to run, but that doesn't make it a cheap Audi. It's just a small one.
Number 1.
If you would try to create the perfect car for as many situations, you'd probably end up with the Porsche Panamera Sport Turismo 4S Diesel with Chrono Pack. Whew. It's all things to all men, a prestigious badge to make your neighbors envious, 4 doors and 4 seats for your family members, a big trunk for their stuff, and an all-wheel drive will help you get easily past St. Moritz or any other prestigious. But because it's a Porsche, you can expect some serious performance too. It gets to 60 in just 4.3 seconds, which makes it the quickest diesel car ever. Top speed is 177 miles per hour, and if you engage the Sport Plus mode, it'll hunt down most supercars, even when the road gets winding. I mean, look at these lap times. Panamera excels in the urban jungle too. The rear axle steering will help a lot in the tight corners, and because the bi-turbo V8 runs on diesel, you'll get 35 mpg in the city. I know that Porsche buyers don't care much about fuel economy, but that's not a reason to ignore this achievement. The Panamera wagon diesel chrono thingy is breathtaking in more than one way. It's many cars in one, and all of them are near perfect, which makes this Porsche one of the best cars ever made. Go ahead, prove me wrong. Also, can you guess these impressive diesel cars? Did you guess them? Write in the comments down below and make sure you vote which topic I should do next. Links will be everywhere. Let's play a little game. You pick any car you wish, and I'll tell you what's it for. Okay? Go. This one carries work tools. This one goes fast. This one is mostly art. This one is for poor people. This one is for the Mormon families, etc., etc., etc. Basically, each car is purposely built to solve a problem in some smart way or another. But every now and then, an incredibly stupid car shows up that just makes you go, why? Hey everyone, Stipe here, and in this episode, a brown stain, a happy dog, and the 7 most stupid cars ever made. Let's go!
Number 7.
GT stands for Grand Tourer, a car for traveling across long distances in style. That means lots of power, lots of luxury, elegance, comfort, and a big trunk for your dirty underwear. Basically, GT is not a supercar, and if McLaren wanted to make one, they shouldn't have started with a P1 chassis and a 720S engine. Even after detuning, softening, and wrapping the interior in leather and cup holders, nothing will hide the fact that the GT McLaren is still as hardcore as a swarm of hornets after you peed on their nest. And where do you put your stuff? The toiletry bag goes between the headlights, while the big bag of brown-stained underwear will be on full display under GT's rear glass for everyone to see. Also, it will be blocking your rear view, and it will be cooked between the hot engine and the scorching sun. But worst of all, you can't do any emergency braking in the GT because there's nothing stopping your hot bag of putrid stains from flying forward and hitting you in the back of the head.
Hey, little dude, you got some crap right here.
I'm sorry, this just doesn't work.
Number 6.
Modern convertibles are great. You get to enjoy those lovely sunny days, but as soon as a single cloud forms, you press a button and an automated roof is back on. Sadly, things are not so simple with the Pluriel. A car that is actually 3 cars in one: a hatchback, a soft-top convertible, and a full-on open-top roadster. Woo, going topless! That may sound smart, but it really isn't. Only the fabric top is operated electronically, while the rest of the roof requires more manual labor than a coal mine in Gulag. Here, just watch. Yank this, pull there, put that, carry those. That's a lot of work right there. And while you can store the rear glass and the fabric in the boot, where do you put those massive roof arches? You must leave them at home or by the side of the road and pray that the weather doesn't change. It is stupid, and it looks stupid. Roof up or down. Next.
Number 5.
The extended wheelbase is usually reserved for the largest, most expensive cars in the world, for when you want extra legroom in the back while being driven around by your private chauffeur. But in China, thanks to huge taxes on imported cars, even the smaller cars are only for the rich. That's why car manufacturers make extended versions of their cheaper compact sedans specifically for China. And one of these China-only cars is the Mercedes A-Class AMG L, also known as the most confusing car in the whole world. Firstly, why is there an A-Class sedan version at all? Don't we already have the CLA, which is basically the same car? Plus, if you want a longer A-Class sedan, what's wrong with the C-Class? And lastly, why would you want a sports version of a car that's meant to be driven by a chauffeur? I mean, what is the intended use of this car? You could drive it fast yourself because it's a lot of fun, but what's the point of the extra legroom then? Or you let the chauffeur drive it fast while you're being thrown around in the back seat. Or you tell them to slow down, making all those go-fast AMG parts useless. Honestly, is this car stupid, or is it just me who can't figure it out?
Number 4.
In an effort to make the most gorgeous speedster in the world, McLaren designers got carried away a bit and accidentally forgot to draw the windshield. No problem. Engineers who don't care if something is ugly as long as it works have a solution for that. That solution is to scoop up the air with the Elva's huge gaping mouth and shoot it straight up through the big blowhole on the hood. Just like a whale. It would create an invisible air windshield that protects your face from insects and deformation. But the air shield only works up to some speed, after which an ugly metal tray straight out of a James Bond movie is raised. Yeah, because that's so much better than a glass windshield. What's worse, it still doesn't work. Drive under 30 miles an hour, and the air shield won't have enough vertical thrust to generate a calm bubble. Drive over 70 miles per hour in this 800 horsepower hypercar, and the rushing air will be too strong to be deflected, even for the tray, and you'll have to wear a helmet. It seems like the only way to enjoy this car is to look at it, or turn yourself into a dog.
Number 3.
Utility vehicles are for work. They can be ugly and crude and simplistic, but they get the job done, and that's the only thing that matters. Except if you're from Australia. Naturally, in the country where everything is upside down, racing parts are at the top of the list when creating a truck. That's why they have this, the HSV Maloo, a high-performance coupe utility pickup muscle car.
What?
A pickup with a floor protection in the flatbed that also has 580 horsepower Corvette engine under the hood, racing suspension, launch control, torque vectoring, and skinny performance tires. What's that all about? I understand that hauling heavy equipment requires some grunt, but how is the rest of it going to help you run a successful business? Showing up early, but with all of your gear being busted? In all honesty, the utility aspect of Maloo is just a leftover from the regular Holden Ute before they turned it into what it is now. A big, stupid drifting machine that's hard to defend but easy to love. Hang on a minute. Is this the Stockholm Syndrome? After all, we're talking about a car that comes from the land of prisoners.
Number 2.
Formula One is the pinnacle of automotive engineering and racing technologies. And that pinnacle is so narrow and focused that it doesn't really work anywhere outside of the racetrack. So when Mercedes said that they would be putting an actual F1 engine into a road car, everyone exploded with joy. But I had my reservations. First of all, the F1 engine isn't exactly turnkey and go. If you let it cool down overnight, the metal alloys will contract and fuse the cylinders in place. That's how small the tolerances are in this sport. To loosen it up again, you need to massage the engine with warm water for an entire hour. And who wants to do that every time they want to go for a ride? Then there's the issue of cooling it when sitting in traffic and no air is rushing over it. And what about longevity?